But my son says I can rap old school 90s hip hop pretty well, so that's about it. Put salt and pepper on and I'm okay. I'm just kidding. So, no, not really, but, anyway. So, okay, I want to share with you some questions that I've been getting. So, I don't know if you noticed, but we kind of have been digging in the dirt the past couple weeks and pulling out some plants and putting in some rose bushes and a little white picket fence and all that. I don't know if you saw that yet, but so as we're getting all dirty and grimy in it, people are passing by who always walk by every day. I don't think any of them come to this community, but they walk by and they're saying, thank you. Thank you so much. You just lift my heart and my spirit by walking by and seeing you working so hard on this area. And it makes me happy to get to walk by and see these beautiful flowers now. And we thought, oh, that's so great. Like, it just filled us up as we're like getting tired and wet and messy, you know. And then I had this one guy who goes to another church down in Old Town, Seal Beach, and we're part of a coalition with the other churches around here to support the homeless and food insecure. And so we work together just kind of undercover and help each other out in that way. And so he was walking down the street and he goes, oh, see you later, Nicole, happy Easter. And I said, oh, happy Easter. And he comes back and he goes, I'm so sorry. Did I disrespect you? Do you guys not celebrate Easter? He goes, I know you're a center for spiritual living, so I didn't know. And I said, that's okay. I guess it would be confusing since we honor and respect all faiths and teach them and talk about them, so I get it. And then there's other questions people have asked me, like, well, why do we? Or what does some event that happened 2,000 years ago have anything to do with me today? Have you ever heard those questions or thought them maybe? Like, is there any meaning? And so here's the deal. For me, there is absolute meaning, and yes, we celebrate it. Why? Because it symbolizes so much. And if we allow it to be a symbol of what's possible for us, then it can help transform our entire lives. The spiritual reckoning of Easter is the understanding that we are all constantly dying to what was and being reborn into a new identity. So when you go off to college, you then go from being your parents' child to being in your own identity. When you get married, when you get divorced, when you retire, your identity of who you were dies and a new one is resurrected, yes? Yes. And so all the time in our lives, we are always dying to the old and being reborn in a new way. And the thing of it is that sometimes we find ourselves getting lost in the chaos of life. So this morning, we are resurrecting peace, okay? Yes. Are you ready? Do you want to? Yes, okay. Because sometimes it feels like, where the heck did it go, right? You're reading your newspaper, you're listening to the TV, or even NPR, or whatever, and it's like, oh, dear Lord. You know, like, I'm just going to fall down and cry and be depressed and stay in my bed all day because the world is a total wreck. And their peace is nowhere in sight. And I don't know about you, but I have a newspaper, and I read the newspaper every single day, but it's actually an app on my phone. But, so this is a prop. So we look at the newspaper, and we see all these horrible headlines. Somebody had acid thrown in their face. Some people were total jerks to their kids. Some people, you know, like all this shooting and all this. And so what do? Do we just focus on this and allow any semblance of healthy life just pass us by? Do we completely turn away from this and never recognize it and never appreciate what is going on and just say God is all there is? No, no. So what can we do? What is the balance here? I think the balance comes from the resurrection, from the crucifixion of what was, of what is, and a being reborn into what could be. So for me, it goes like this. This is like a visual of it. So I read this, and I get to know it, and I understand what's going on, knowing it's not the full picture, but it's stuff, and it's really happening. And then I crumble it up. I crumble it up, and I die to that. Okay, I know it's there, but I allow myself each morning to die to that idea. And then I pick up a book like this, 365 Days of Richer Living, and it says something like this: "Within me now is the light of life, and I let it reveal its perfect nature in all that I do. I am willing to step aside from all petty thinking and place God first and foremost in my experience today. I know that more good is seeking to express through me than I ever could have known." And what does that do? The letting, acknowledging what is, allowing ourselves in the moment, every moment, to die of that, to say, I get it, it's there, but I am going to rise in consciousness. I am going to rise up and let the last word be the word of truth in my mind. I'm going to let the last word be the reality. And then I'm going to work towards bringing that peace to life in this world by being at a higher level of consciousness and by raising those up around us just by being an example. Yes? Yes. And so that is how we don't, keep ourselves blind to what is, or just completely buy into it and find ourselves lost in depression and terror. In Romans chapter 8, verse 5 and 6, it says that we can either live according to the desires of the flesh, which brings our mindset to the desires of the flesh, or we can live in accordance with spirit, which resides our mindset on that of spirit. And what that means to me, what that tells me, is that we have a choice. And that's what this philosophy is all about, right? We have a new thought. We believe in this community that every one of us has the power, the ability, and the choice to have a new thought right now and die to the old and rise up in that new. Yes. It's not over yet. So, okay, where was I? Rise up, rise up. That's right, that's right. So we rise, we begin to rise, and we say, this is who I really am. We have to get right in our mind and in our heart. We have to get right with our relationship to who we really are. Are we human beings living on a human world? Are we spiritual beings living in a human existence? No. We are spiritual beings living in a spiritual world that we have dominion over so long as we have our own ability to think for ourselves. How many of you here are really thinking for yourselves? And we'll work on that. Keep coming back. I hate it when somebody says, well, what do you think? I don't care. What do you think? So Mark Nepo, he wrote this really cool book called Unlearning Back to God. Unlearning Back to God. So in it, he says that there is this spot within us, this unencumbered spot that, and I like to think of this spot as a little flicker, a flame that's right here, and sometimes it grows and sometimes it shrinks, but there's this spot that is unencumbered that doesn't ever know worry or fear or ambition or strife. It doesn't know all that we have allowed ourselves to buy into. It is that spot within us that the psychologists call the psyche and the theologists call the soul, that Jung called the seat of the unconscious. It's that spot within us that the Buddhists call Dharma and the Hindu masters would call the Atman, and that Jesus called the center of love. And when we start to realize that that spot is within us, what happens? When we realize that spirit, that the divine, that this power greater than I am that I don't even know how to explain is the very center of my being, what does that do for us? Sets us free. Changes everything, yeah. Changes everything. New life, yeah. It transforms. It allows us to crucify that which no longer serves us, that which is no longer who we choose to be, and it allows us to resurrect peace in our lives because peace is upon us and it is within us. And one of the things I love so much about this master teacher Jesus is the way he was able to so poetically use parables and life experiences to show truth. And it's like, oh, I get it. He used so much symbolism and metaphors, and my desire for us this morning, my deepest desire for us this morning is that we use this day that we call Easter. We use it every year as a reminder. Hopefully we can use it every single day as a reminder that no matter where we are in our life, no matter what we're going through, no matter who we've ever been, that we were born to rise. Period. That is who we are. We are energetic levels that are born to rise, this upward spiral. We are always on this upward spiral. We were born to rise. What were we born for? To rise. We were born to what? Rise. Say it together. We were born to rise. Jesus taught it when he was crucified and rose, when he was resurrected. You and you and you and you and you and you have taught us, you and you and you and you and you have taught us, this collective humanity, that it is okay to have come from somewhere and to have risen up, to have been someone or something that we didn't feel like was enough or okay, and then to have risen and said, this is who I choose to be now. This is who I choose to be now. And that's all that matters. And so it is. And so it is. Messy, messy, messy.
Got your props this time, huh?
Yeah.
Happy Easter Sunday, guys. Reverend Nicole, thank you for a beautiful talk once again. We're so blessed to have her. So, my answer to the person that asked him, would we be insulted during Easter? Absolutely not. The New Thought has a metaphysical Easter message that's available for anyone of any faith, and it's a powerful message. And that message we do get from the master teacher, Jesus. We absolutely get our message from him. We get a lot of our teachings from him. And because what he came here to do was to teach love. That's what differentiated him. That's what he came here to do, and that's what we honor. And in my mind, he told us in his teachings, well, first of all, he told us that he's the great example, not the great exception in what he can do. He instructed us to do. And so somehow a lot of us have just forgotten about that. So he told us that. And he told us that the resurrection was resurrecting your heart. In my mind, he told us there's no need to resurrect your soul. He told us the kingdom of heaven is within. He told us we all are immortal. He told us in my Father's house there are many mansions. And so what his message was, and what he did to change the world, not to come and do the old scripture and enforce the old rules, he came to let us know that there's an extreme power that you can use to an extreme level, and that power is love. And that power of love will change your heart and your mind. So if we're going to resurrect peace, I know of no other way than to resurrect our heart. And it's like we're playing this game of hide and seek. We've been out there forever. and they're calling people in for free. And we're sitting there, frozen, afraid to stand up and open our heart and follow the true teachings of Jesus. Because we know in our teaching, too, he taught us that we have this everlasting life. That's what we teach here. We teach here that we live a divine life, not tomorrow, not yesterday, but right here and right now. And this thing we call death is just a transition, a vibratory change. The part of you, me, that you know as Michael, that you know as Nicole, that you know as Judy, just changes forms. The same thing that Jesus taught us is that we just go on further. We don't have to resurrect our soul. That work's been done. But the powerful thing we can do, we can stop hiding our heart. Because we do a lot of great teaching about how powerful we can use this thing we call universal law and impress upon the law and create the things, the mechanical part. But when we engage our heart, things open up. And if we follow these teachings of Jesus to the level that he taught them, all the darkness, all the intolerance, all the things we see as anarchy and injustices in the world, I'm telling you, not only can we tolerate them, but we can heal them. Because there was this man that was looking for love stories, and he didn't know where to do, and he wandered all over Europe. And when he finally came to realize that people were coming to him, wanting to find their way, he finally realized that it's not the path you've chosen, it's the heart that you're walking that path with. So when we make that intention to open our hearts, to go back to the original teachings, to stop wordsmithing every little piece of scripture, we get wonderful gifts. The first one is the gift of purpose. So instead of wondering, we open our hearts, we reach out and someone touches us, gives us a little guidance perhaps, because we're not judging from appearances anymore. And we're opening our hearts, and when you open your heart, no matter what the situation, immediately you up-level the entire playing field. You change the person you're talking to, 2 and 2 change and make 4, and you start to create wonderful, wonderful things going on in your life. And you're changing other people's lives. And the other gift you get is automatic. You get this gift of renewal because you're renewed. Because you cannot grow your spiritual life with a closed heart. I'm going to say that's an absolute. You can learn all the techniques. You can learn lots of great meditative techniques to keep you focused. But with spiritual growth comes an open heart. And then when your heart is open, you start to understand these things that we talk about a lot about here, about oneness. Then when your heart's open, you realize that you are your brothers and sisters' keeper. You're not separate. It's not you and them. It's like in the old Hindu tradition, the one manifests as the many. What Nicole was talking about with the Atman, that you are, merges with the Brahman, which is the universal mind and the universal heart. And you realize you're connected, even when bad things happen to you. And I want to share an experience that Nelson Mandela had, where he had this awakening when he was in prison, in one of his many years in prison. It goes like this. I always knew that deep down in every human heart, there is mercy and generosity. No one is born hating another person because of the color of their skin, or his background, or his religion. People must learn to hate. And if they can learn to hate, they can be taught to love. For love comes more naturally to the human heart than its opposite. Even in the grimmest time in prison, when my comrades and I were pushed to our limits, I would see a glimmer of humanity in one of the guards. Perhaps just for a second, but it was enough to reassure me and to keep me going. Man's goodness is a flame that can be hidden, but it can never be extinguished. So through all the trials and tribulations, the heart is that will open ourselves up. And even in our teachings, we teach the heart is the essence of the creative process. Ernest Holmes tells us we can stand in hell and proclaim heaven because they're both states of mind. So when your heart is open, you can walk through any situation in your life, no matter how evil, no matter how bad it is. And that open heart will transform that situation. And I'd now like to close this Easter Sunday in prayer. And now, if you will, go within to that powerful, powerful place inside that you are. That as we come together, this blessed community, we come together by absolute divine appointment. And I know, absolutely know, that each of our hearts is now open. And I know that as we go forward, we will go forward with this open heart. No need to hide anymore. It is ours to do what is ours to do. We do it with compassion, we do it with joy, and we do it with absolute love.
And so what I recognize is that there is a spirit within this community, and it is rising. It has risen up to the time that comes right here and right now. Each one of us is alive and well, that we have crucified that which is old, and we are resurrecting the peace within ourself, the peace within our life, the peace within this world. That we are the great examples of spirit on earth. We are the beloved's beloved. We are the children of the Most High. And in that we are taken care of. And in that we can know that spirit moves and speaks and hears and feels by means of us. Let us be that love. Let us be that peace in our world today and every day. And so it is.
And so it is. Happy Easter.